What's going on, everyone? So I talked about instead of the Spurs ponying up everything that they have to pony up in order to go get Kevin Durant, should they go and look to the New Orleans Pelicans for Trey Murphy and Herb Jones? Both guys are much younger, especially, Trey Murphy. Trey Murphy's already proven as like a 20-point-a-game guy, 25-5 guy, or I think he's like 25-4 guy, right? Like, he's a guy that can legit be a 3-and-D, slot in either forward spot. Herb Jones, same thing. One of the better perimeter defenders in basketball, slot in to either forward spot, right? And now you have your starting five locked up, right? Where Kevin Durant, you still have to go solve that other forward spot. Whether it's Kevin Durant playing the 4 and you got to get a 3, or Kevin Durant playing the 3 and you got to go get a 4, right? Where now you have, right? Let's say you even had to give up the same package that you do for Kevin Durant. You'd still have Dylan Harper. You probably could keep Harrison Barnes because the Pelicans are a team that wants to kind of rebuild or retool, right? Like, your starting five could be a De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, right? Herb Jones, Trey Murphy, and Victor Wembanyama. And then you'd still have Dylan Harper, right? Harrison Barnes. Go get, a backup center, if you can, whatever, right? And then you'd be 8, 9, 10 guys deep, right? Like, you'd be fine. It'd be great. Right? And probably one of the better teams. But I want to break down specifically Herb Jones and Trey Murphy. I want to dedicate a video to each of them because, I really want people to understand like who these players are, right? And I want to start with Herb Jones. Herb Jones is even a guy that I would love to see them go and trade for, even if they trade for Kevin Durant, right? If you can land Kevin Durant, you can play KD at the 4, go get Herb Jones, play him at the 3, boom, problem solved. Now, you could argue Julian Champagnie, which that's also another guy you'd have off the bench, but you also, if you go get Kevin Durant, you could slot in Julian Champagnie. I'd rather have Herb Jones. You talk about 6'8", versatile forward, right, that, shoots the ball well, defends at a high level, can defend multiple positions. But Herb Jones is a guy that, again, I want people to keep in mind with Herb Jones as well as Trey Murphy, which both guys are coming off of injuries, right? But the Pelicans as a whole were just decimated by injuries. They were a team that just were ravaged by it. But Herb Jones as well as Trey Murphy, their numbers were down last year. But you got to keep in mind, they had to do a lot more self-creating because there were times where they were basically the only guy on the court. And there were times where the two of them were the only guys on the court. And they didn't even have a point guard at times, right? Like, DeJounte Murray basically missed nearly the entire season. CJ McCollum missed that, right? So there were a lot of times where those two guys had to self-create more than they ever had to in their careers, right? And were more focal points on the defensive side of things for opposing teams, right? That's important because, you slot into a team like the Spurs, it's not going to happen. You're going to be the 4th, 5th option at that point, right? Maybe even worse than that because, you got Dylan Harper and stuff like that, right? So, and you'd have a point guard. You'd have actually technically 3 guys that could go and create for you, and Dylan Harper, De'Aaron Fox, and Stephon Castle, right? So just keep that in mind when I break down Herb Jones and then in a later video, Trey Murphy. But last season, 20 games played. Not great. Again, that's not great at all, but he's been healthy every other year, right? 76 games, 66 games, 78 games. Perfect, right? As long as you're playing, around 65 to 70 games, I'm good, right? But, 20 games, obviously problem. Is that an outlier season or is that an anomaly? That's something you got to keep in mind, right? 32.4 minutes per game this past season. Shot 43.6% from the field on 8.6 attempts, which is the most of his career. Again, he had to do more this past year and create more himself. 3-point percentage, 30.6% on 3.6 attempts, which is abysmal. It's terrible. But he was 42% the year before, 33.5, 33.7, right? He is a career 36.6% 3-point shooter on 3 attempts per game. So, again, almost 37% for his career. That's good. Now, 2-point range, shot 53% from the floor on 5 attempts, which again was the lowest of his career. He's a career 54.3% guy, EFG of 50%, which is again lowest of his career. He's a career 54.5%. Free throw shooting, 82.5%, which is right on par with his career average. Rebounds, 4 rebounds, 3.3 assists, 2 steals, half a block, 10.3 points per game. Like, perfect. That's literally everything this team needs at the 3 as, again, your 4th, 5th, 6th option. Right? Like, you talk about a guy that slots in, you need it. Like, those 2 steals and half a block per game are more valuable than anything. Because, again, you're going to have De'Aaron Fox, Dylan Harper, Stephon Castle. If you do get Trey Murphy, and a Victor Wembanyama, you're going to have multiple. You have 5, 6 guys that go get you 20 a night. You need guys that can do the dirty work, defend multiple positions, right? Block shots, create second chance opportunities, create steals, right? Create more shot attempts. Herb Jones solves that. Oh, and also he could knock down the 3 ball with consistency. And you'd have guys like De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, and maybe even potentially Dylan Harper being able to get into the teeth of the defense, create that dribble penetration, and then kick out to shooters. Right? Herb Jones would feast. I mean, one of the biggest issues the Pelicans have had is they just haven't had a point guard, right? Like, literally. That's why they went and traded for DeJounte Murray, but they haven't really gotten to see him for like full. And, again, they've been just decimated with injuries. So Herb Jones, like, what does he look like alongside a De'Aaron Fox? The other thing is, too, you got to keep in mind, like, we've kind of seen a version of what the Spurs could potentially be with the Sacramento Kings, right? De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, right? They were, the 2 seed, looked like the up-and-coming, rising, promising team. Well, Spurs have Victor Wembanyama and Stephon Castle and potentially Dylan Harper, right? So they're even further ahead than that team was. Want to make that clear. Like, I like the Spurs better than that Sacramento team. But Sacramento had a clear path to be one of the better teams and maybe be in the conversation of contention and maybe in a finals or conference finals or whatever, right? And that was go get 3-and-D wings and slot them alongside De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis. It's that simple. You didn't need to go get another self-create. But instead, what happened? The Sacramento Kings needed to go get DeMar DeRozan. And then even when they traded De'Aaron Fox, they went and got Zach LaVine. It's just like, so you try to get no defense. And you're like, Victor Wembanyama is probably going to give you 25 a night. De'Aaron Fox probably going to get you 23 a night. Stephon Castle is probably going to get you, whatever, 15. You don't need you don't need all this you don't need all this scoring. Right? And then especially if you go draft Dylan Harper, you have more than enough. You'd have Castle, you'd have Fox, you'd have Harper, right? I mean, you need those guys like a Herb Jones that can slot in, defend multiple positions, play multiple positions, right? Be that versatile wing defender. If I'm the Spurs, I'm looking at trying to go get a Herb Jones. I'm even if you do end up pulling off the trade for Kevin Durant, I still would look to go and try to go get Herb Jones. I think he would be cheaper than Trey Murphy. I'd still look to go get Trey Murphy too, but I think he'd be cheaper than Trey Murphy because Trey Murphy, again, already proven to be a 20-point-a-game guy, and he's 24. He'll be 25, right? So I look at Herb Jones. He fits beautifully age-wise. He'll be 27 and go start next season. So you'd have him for the next, 6+ years, right? And, you'd have one of the better rosters in the league at that point, in my opinion, right? So if you're the Spurs, I would heavily look to, can I go get Herb Jones? But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.